week so far. It's been a little bit on the boring side for me. I know me and you were talking, Michael Nauss. Things have been a little
Yeah.
bit slower for us, even with FOMC and all the volatility and the craziness. I just personally haven't been taking as many trades throughout the week, but still plenty of opportunities and a lot going on with the market. I'm excited to dive into it with you. But how are we feeling about the week?
Yeah, like you mentioned, it's a bit boring. I think a lot of that was because of FOMC, right? You don't have if you're a giant institution, you're not taking a massive bet right before that occurred, and ever since then we've been in a big range, but we've been in a range. So none of my systems actually triggered anything this week.
Yeah, 100%. Yesterday we saw a nice start to the morning, and then things just flipped right into the mid half of the day, and then
Hmm.
things just went right back down. Today we got quad witching, which is probably going to be a bit of a catalyst for a bunch of chop today. You can see the market's actually getting a pretty decent move to the downside right now, and just the way I'm thinking is, unfortunately, they might make this big move down to kind of just chop it throughout the New York session. It's kind of what I'm
Yeah.
feeling for the day. But obviously, we'll see what kind of opportunities the market wants to bring. I'm happy to trade something if it's there. I just don't expect a whole lot. But yeah, indexes closed. S&P closed down 0.22% yesterday. Nasdaq was down 0.33. The Russell 2000 down 0.65%, and Dow Jones down 0.03%. So everything did close down a bit. But we're still just really in this range. If you guys just like bump up the time frame a bit, if you're looking at SPY QQQ, I mean,
Yeah.
we've been in this range for 2 weeks, Michael, and maybe we get out of it today. I don't know, but it's been ranging market. So
Well, I think, right, this dip is very important and kind of what we want to see is, you mark the lows from the sell-off, and if those lows hold, I'm a buyer. And if those lows don't, then it's time to go. And that's kind of how I look at it. So if we pull back into this area and we find some support before we break down to new lows, I think that's very bullish action, right? We went and we tested it, and that test was successful. And right now time to rip her higher.
yeah. Just real quick, going through some earnings from last night. MU, they crushed quarter two with a 38% year over year revenue jump in a data center segment that tripled. So Q3 guidance also beat. With Nike, they beat earnings and revenue, but warned of a double digit sales drop next quarter, weaker margins, and consumer headwinds. So the sentiment on StockTwits right now is actually extremely bearish for Nike. FedEx revenue beat, but earnings missed. Sales finally ticked up year over year, plus 2%. But management warned full year sales may be flat to down, blaming weather, China delays, and macro uncertainty. And then Quantum, a miss that weighed on broader tech sentiment after hours. And then spotlight stock, Amazon is sitting on a key technical level after breaking out last year. Maybe we can bring up some technicals on that, Michael, when you bring up your chart soon, and we can look at that.
Yeah.
But bulls are hoping its stabilization, rising 200-day moving average, and improving momentum mark a launch pad. If Amazon holds, the broader market may follow. If it breaks down, brace for deeper correction. So, which makes sense there. But yeah, any thoughts on the earnings that went down last night?
No, well, the MU, I was looking at the MU chart, and that was super interesting where they announced, and the first candle just ripped and then just fell apart. So it just showed that some algos got that completely wrong. So they might actually be trapped a little bit to the long side. So that's something interesting to keep an eye on as well. When you get that initial spike and then it gets reversed, it just shows, right? Because what happens is the report is released, there's a whole bunch of algorithms that like scan for keywords and things like that, and then they make trades instantly. And then you get humans that actually read it, and then they know, they spot all the problems, and it sells off from there. So yeah, it could be one of those things where you get a bunch of longs trapped and this thing could fade. But other than that, everything looks, pretty normal. Not a huge earnings season anyway.
Yeah, I don't think it really kicks off again until like mid-April or so. So, I mean,
Yeah.
until then, we're not going to see any real crazy earnings. But April comes
Hmm.
around, we're going to start seeing those airlines and the banks start to report again, and earnings season will kick off. But if you want to share your screen, Michael, maybe we can get into your
Sure.
heat maps and start going over
Yeah.
some tickers with the crew and just what we're looking at for the day. Like I kind of started out saying, I mean, definitely with the move we're getting so far right now in the morning, definitely feeling a little more bearish into these higher time frame lows that we have on the futures here on SPY, QQQ, all that. So we'll see what happens going into the open, but have to lean that way right now. Just seeing the price action I'm seeing. But how are we feeling about that?
Yeah, everything's as you'd expect, red, but not super red. Just down a percent here or there, and no real sectors that you would want to come in to save us are. I usually look at things like financials. If we don't need tech if financials are rallying, but they're not, and we don't need tech if industrials are rallying, but they're not either. But this is what I was kind of mentioning on the SPY. So I have it's just an hourly chart. And here's the major swing low when it
Yep.
came to that event. And the way I look at it, I've mentioned this a few times, is there's two major scenarios to watch. Right? One is we knew this bounce was coming. And I was on here talking with you guys about that and saying this was too much. At some point, a bounce would come in. And then the two options I see is one is we pull back and then we get buyers in a higher low and then move higher. Well, that's the first technical change of trend that we've had where people have been excited for the market to sell off so they could buy some, as opposed to what was happening over the last few weeks, which there was no buyers anytime we hit new lows. So this sell off, again, is very interesting to me because if we dig in around here and then start to push higher, well, that to me is a big kind of buy flag, buy signal. The other one, the other scenario, and kind of what you don't want to see if you're bullish, is just we break those lows and continue lower. And that was just an big old bear flag, and we're just starting to push lower. So, you know, we'll know that for sure, in two steps. One is if when we're pulling back here, do we dig in? Do we see a lot of bottoming tails? Do we see a lot of buying in this area? And then the next one, do we end up breaking these prior highs? And if you go to the daily chart, I think this is a tweet I put out yesterday, is there's something going on at this 568-ish on the SPY. Every time we get there,
Yeah,
we're
they clearly
rejected
don't want to let
over
it
and
above that,
over.
right?
Yeah. So someone, and things just happens because there's more aggressive sellers than there's buyers. So at that point, there's some system out there that's putting on sellout systems or sell algorithms. So don't know why. You never know who, but yeah, it's just one of those things that it's occurring. So we need to keep that in mind. So for me, that's kind of what I want to see. I do want to see a little bit of a sell off into the 555-ish area, and then I want to see that get bought up, and then we push back over 570 and go from there. For me, that'd be the perfect scenario. And even if that takes weeks, even if we're just kind of chopping in this range for a couple weeks, I think it's overall bullish because we want bad news to stop and we just want people to be buying around here, right? And we know that this is a correction and only 25% of corrections turn into bear markets. So again, some good probabilities, but if this low gets lost on any kind of major closing basis, then the thesis is off, and that was just a bounce into an overall bear trend, and right, we gotta get out and stay out and wait for the next opportunity.
Yeah, I fully agree. I've been looking at the market just kind of, on those higher time frames lately. And like you say, we're just going sideways, but we could absolutely go sideways a lot longer if we need to, right? I feel like
Yeah.
people forget that we just made some big moves to the downside. I mean,
Hmm.
from the highs that we were trading at from, I don't know if anybody remembers, it wasn't that long ago. It's like, what, 3, 4 weeks ago at this point, that Friday where we really started the sell off from the highs. I mean, from that point to trading now, we're down like 2,600 points on the NQ. It's huge moves for the market,
I
right?
think
So we're not just going to bounce and V bounce right back up. You
Yeah,
got
and
to
I
spend
read
some time
somewhere it
here.
was the third fastest correction in history.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
from peak to down 10%. It was the third one. So yeah, it's a dramatic move. But like kind of I guess this is the example that I wanted to use of I don't know what this was. April 2024 something happened. The market sold off a bit, right? This is not quite a correction. There's only 6% as opposed to 10, but you can see the same kind of pattern as I was looking happened in through here, where you had a bounce, and then when they came in, there was buyers that came in at a higher price, and then they were able to rally it up from there, right? So the buy for me would be right above here because you have the bounce, you have the pullback, and that makes a higher low, and then you have a pop. And again, it's Nothing wild, nothing crazy. It's just that to me is the way I like to look at bottoms. I don't want to be the guy to catch the bottom, and I just know doing that I won't be. But if we get the same type of a move here, where you have the bounce and then the pullback, and that pullback comes into a higher low, and then you start to push up from there, that to me is right buying on a close over there. It's just way safer, and then you're using that lower or that higher low as your potential out. So
Yep,
um,
fully agree.
yeah, and it's you come up with plans, right? And that's just the plan. It doesn't come up with your own plan, but that's just the plan that I have and what I want to see. So that really needs to see either today or early next week some buying to come in and to stop us from getting to this low, because that'd be the real dangerous part of it.
Yeah, especially if we sell off today. That's what we can look for, right, on the sell off. And obviously, this is on a higher time frame, so it's definitely something you want to wait for, like the close on right after today. But
Right.
you can very much study today and be like, okay, did bulls step in at all? Are we trying to get that higher low? Right? Will I have to wait till Monday to get more information on that? Right? We'll see. That's where we can kind of gauge it and see and have a good idea on where the market wants to go next, right? But yeah, beautiful explanation. I'm thinking about it pretty much the same way. Um, I
Well,
guess
and
if
that's
I
what
take
traders
any,
should do, right?
yeah,
And I think
absolutely.
that's the problem with a lot of people is they look at they look at technical analysis and they say, okay, well, what does it say about this chart right now? It's like, well, in some cases you can look and see something, but usually it's this planning, right? And the benefit of that too, especially is discretionary traders, you do this planning. So now I've kind of outlaid two scenarios and what I'm going to do in each scenario. And you know, there's a chance neither of those happen, of course, but if neither of those happen, then I won't do anything. So you plan all this stuff out beforehand, so you're not just hitting buttons when the market's open and getting all emotional and whatever. Either we start to see buyers around here and we end up breaking this high, and then I'll be buying a whole bunch of stocks, or we break down new lows and I'll continue to sit in cash, in which I'm, you know, 90, I think 75% total in cash right now, just trying to take
Yep.
small trades. But there just hasn't been, when the market does this, there's really no opportunity for anything but day trades.
Yep, I'm with you. I'm like a little over 60% cash in my long term right now, just because I'd rather just sit in the S&P, QQQ, and all my individual names I took profits on, and we still get exposure to those through S&P. Just don't want to
Hmm.
have to worry about the risk on that. You know what I mean? And yeah, so it's a lot easier too, especially when we're day trading all the time and we're putting our focus and efforts
Yeah.
towards that. When I am long term investing now, it's a lot. It's just a lot easier for me to say, hey, SPY's dipping big. Great. Let's throw some cash in there and not look at it for a while. But
Yeah, just going into the pre-market action, so we are just bleeding here. So
mhm.
there's really nothing to be, we got 15 minutes till the open, but there hasn't been really any relief here. Things have just been selling off. So the only thing that I've been watching a little bit for maybe discretionary trade is just gold. So I shorted a little bit on a breakdown. Call this, head and shoulders or whatever you'd like, right? Get a little head and shoulders pattern going on there.
Yep.
So when it broke this trend line yesterday evening, I took a short into there on the futures contracts. So as we start to bounce up here, if we end up breaking this trend line today, I'll probably actually add to that short. And it's just, again, it's just a trade, because if I'm looking for things at extremes, the problem is the market's no longer at an extreme. So I want to find something else at extremes, and gold is the only thing that right now is, it's up a lot. So I could see it coming down just a little bit, right? You're not looking to light the world on fire or anything with gold. It's not going to move 100% in your direction, but just a small trade off kind of the hourly chart. See if we can get back into this, test this 3,000 ish area.
Yeah. I actually got stopped out of a short on gold like a week and a half ago. Unfortunately, I was a little too early, but maybe Michael Nauss nails it.
Maybe.
I
Who
never nail
knows?
it with gold, man. Gold never does me well for some reason. I'm not in tune with that one. I stick to the Nasdaq.
Yeah, and let's take a look at some of these. So I got the doc here, some of these earnings ones.
Yeah.
Oh, not MY, MU. MU. NASDAQ. Come on. There we go. Yeah, so this is what I've been saying about the semis forever. I know everyone is super excited to try to pick the move on the semis because yeah, it's super interesting, but it's just not it's not the ticket, right? If you look at the SMH, this thing has just been completely range bound for almost a year now. So this is March 2024 and we're in March 2025 and the semiconductors have not moved. And all that's happened is people have gotten incredibly frustrated trying to trade this and we're just chopping. So
Yeah.
this, the way I look at it is that unless we're breaking out into new highs, I don't care about any of the semiconductors, right? I don't care about Nvidia. I don't care about MU. None of these names are interesting to me, right? So MU, yes, it's down a little bit, capping down, but it's still just stuck right in the middle of the range. Even Intel can't
Yeah,
get
Intel,
going.
same thing. Yeah. Even when it does have
Everything just
momentum and it tries, it just fizzles out every time, right? You're getting no continuation there.
well, and yeah, that's what we know for sure that when the market recovers, generally speaking, it will be a completely different market that recovers it. Right? It just happens over and over again. You get a crash, you have some theme that happens. That theme rallies the market sells off, and then a new theme comes in. Right, so going into like coming out of COVID, right, it was Peloton, Zoom, all these names. Then those names completely gone away. Some of them are near bankruptcy or should be bankrupt, and then you get another theme that takes us out, and then you get to the collapse when it comes to the Russia-Ukraine war and the interest rates and all that kind of stuff, and then out of that bear market we have AI. Now AI is chilled out. Doesn't mean it needs to sell off, right? Looking at the SMH, it could literally do this for way longer. It's not uncommon for this to take
No, look at
years to
what it
chop around.
does. Everything. Yeah, it does this consistently, right? So,
Yeah. It's right, massive trade here. So if we are going to move to new highs, my thing is always what's going to take us there. And no, it won't be quantum. I think these things
no.
I'm watching all of these things for a massive short
Have you
today.
been taking any trades on them, or just kind of just watching from the sidelines?
Some day trades. I
Yeah,
wish I had the guts. I just really don't
I
to
don't. That's for
swing
sure.
short these things.
Mm-mm.
I think they're all zeros. Like I think none of them. It's just the way I'm thinking about these quantum names is that the more I think about them is okay. You're creating a new technology that may not even be possible to create, and you're building it from scratch. And you're going to take a bet on some of these little tiny guys with not much cash, and they're burning through it all the time. For me, if you want to make a bet on quantum, it's Meta, it's Nvidia, it's Apple, it's the big guys. It's Google can throw the entire market cap of Rigetti, QUBT, QB test, all these things every year on researching quantum, and it's like a line item on their income statement that no one cares about, right? It's just, oh yeah, we dumped 2 billion this year into researching quantum, but whatever. If we get it, it'll make us a bunch of money, and if not, whatever. They have tons of these R&D projects that end up sometimes going nowhere. So I just look at it and I'm like, even if this thing, even if you can create a quantum computer, something that's useful, yeah, are you going to do it faster than Google? I just don't think so.
Right?
So
No.
I want to short them. I just do not have the guts to short them. If I do, it'll be like 5% of my portfolio or something. So if
Yeah.
it, triples or quadruples from here, it's still like a little paper cut. But then I look at it and I say, well, then there's not much gain to be had either. So day trade, day trade to the short
Yeah.
side, and it's all I
That
can.
makes sense. Stay
All I'm
safe.
doing
Yeah,
with
because
that.
swinging that short, it's just, even though your thesis is spot on, it's just, it could take one morning where they gap up off some crazy news and then you're just in a hole, you know what I mean, that you don't really want to put yourself in. So
Well,
I say listen to the fear. It's not it's not a bad thing.
yeah, and well, it's like with the meme stocks, right? I've been calling for years, and people aggressively fighting back about how these are going, and way back here, I was saying that at 120, and I'd love to say that I made a whole bunch of money on them, but all of these spikes that happen in these meme stocks are like doubles. So you got to remember that if you're looking to short, is that even when they go back down, like I think this is the last time the Catman came back, and AMC went right 400% higher before just bleeding back down and on its way back to zero. So you can be right on direction. I just think this is why I don't focus on the short side of the market too much. I think it's just it's a it's a hard game. That's why those guys, the not the Citron guy, but the Muddy Water guy, who actually exposes scams and stuff. It's good for him, but you just think you've had a hard you're spending a hard life to go after that side of the market for sure.
Yeah, no, it's tough, especially when you're like doing the traditional shorting, style of things, like actually shorting stocks versus like, going short on like something like futures or getting put contracts on something, right? Like actually going short the market, you're exposed to that a little bit differently, right? I mean, you could potentially just keep losing and losing and losing your money
Yeah.
when you're doing that. So, got to be careful for sure.
So yeah, Amazon, I see that in the doc too, and I see I do have the chat open. So yes, well, if you want us to take a look at any of your stocks, certainly pop them in the chat there.
Mm-hmm.
I'll take a look. Um, for me, I think 200 is a good level to play off of, and I chatted about this on Monday when I did my little lunchtime show. And the reason for A is you have this area right here. This is where Bezos started to dump, right? He started to sell at 200 because he got a new wife or something. Sold a bunch of shares. And then ever since then, you can see how 200's been really respected. So the beauty of that, and I am planning on buying Amazon if we can get over this 200 again. And the beauty of that and the way every real trader thinks is I know exactly where I'm wrong, right? So if it gets over 200, and I love this little drawing tool that will do your risk reward. So if it gets over 200, I'll buy it there, and then a stop goes right under this low right here. And then if I'm right, and we get back to highs at some point, well, that's 3 or 4 times my risk. So I understand that it's we're playing probabilities, right? So you start to do the math. You say, okay, if I'm right, I'm going to make 3 times what I'm risking. So you risk $1,000, you make 3,000 to make the math simple. So then in my head, I'm just saying, okay, well, what is the probability that I think that this, if we get back through 200, that we'll get to all-time highs at some point. And I think that that's better than 50-50. So then you just do the math and it makes sense, right? That's um, I always try to go back to how actual traders and investors think versus, people who are trying to pretend they know something. I don't know anything, but I know that this is a very simple trade idea and that the math could work in my favor. So I'll take it and I'll either be right and I'll make 3,000 if I'm risking 1,000 on it, or 30,000 if I'm risking 10,000 on it, or I'm wrong and I'll get stopped out. Right? It's Amazon. I'm not worried about Amazon gapping down like 50% overnight
Yeah,
or anything
exactly.
like that, right? So, those are the shots you can take, and you can express those with options too. The only problem I have with that is you have to be right on direction and time, and that
It's
just
tough.
you're making your life harder, I think, at that point, as opposed to just buying the stock and doing from there. The other thing I guess you could do is sell puts if you think that it's on its way back up, but then you're capping up that side. So again, I'm a boring old man. I just like my stocks. Makes things a little bit simpler.
Yeah, you said something that I love. You said I'm trying to think like the actual traders and the investors rather than, everybody else, and that's what we should be doing. Which is all that means is thinking about risk to reward, right? Probabilities,
That's it.
not thinking about, oh my
Hmm.
God, I'm gonna pass a funded account if I make this trade. Oh my God, I'm gonna make money if I right. Like everybody gets so concerned with the money aspect and how much they're going to make off a trade rather than actually like let's put ourselves in a high probability environment, good risk to
Yeah.
reward, right? I have the points of confluence needed and I feel confident about this, let's go, right? So I love that because that's actively what I'm doing every single day and trying to do, right? And if I ever slip up, I'm beating myself up for it a little bit because I know better, right? And it's just
Hmm.
like, we need to trade in terms of playing our plan and improving that, and rather than thinking about money.
Yeah, we're playing a game on probabilities, right? It's that's all it is. And everything, anyone who says that they know anything, right? That is the one thing I always say. Like if you're looking for traders and investors and anything to follow, is anyone who speaks in absolutes, run. right? This stock will go up, or I'm 100% sure this thing will happen, or because it's all nonsense. No one knows for sure. We're making educated bets, and this is coming from a quant, right? So everything I do, I've got some sort of 30-year back test that shows that there's some edge on it. And I think part of doing that actually kind of black pills you a little bit, doing hundreds. So I've probably simulated like hundreds of millions of trades at this point with all the different back tests that I've done, and you realize that there's nothing in the world that is both insanely highly accurate and has a good risk reward profile. Just doesn't exist, right? So you either want to be accurate often and you're trying to make a buck, and when you're risking a buck, right? So I'm trying to make $1,000 and I'm risking $1,000, and I'll be right 60% of the time if I find a good setup that does that, or the other way around, in which you're right infrequently, but you make so much money when you're right. And that's generally what like trend followers are trying to do. They know most successful trend following hedge funds and everything like this, they've got like 35% win rates. However, when they're right, they really blow it out of the water. And then it's finding which of those fits well with your personality and then just doing that, right? The more time you spend saying, okay, well, but if I really dive into this, I'll have a really good idea of, what to do, and that will somehow increase my win rate. It's not really one of those, right? It's just, here's the probabilities, here's the game that I'm trying to play. Do I think there's edge in this particular trade? Then that's something I should take. Otherwise, I shouldn't. I should always have an exit point, so I'm not, on there trying to copium myself, and the people who get mad at other people that are saying something that they don't like about their stock, like that kind of thing. You're lost at that point, right? You've lost the game of probabilities, and you've gotten kind of married to something.
100%. I
Someone
call it
else
the
asking
case of
about
the fuck it's, Michael. You get a case of the fuck it's, right? And it's just like, fuck it, I don't care anymore, right?
Yeah.
And that's when everything goes bad.
Well, that's there was a guy I used to trade with on the prop funds. No, this was in the hedge fund game, when I worked in the hedge fund space, and he would say, instead of the fuck it's, he'd say, let's see what happens. And it got to the point where if he ever said that anywhere in the room, you would hear like the risk manager get up from his desk and start to walk over and just go, as soon as you say let's see what happens, you get out of the position, because that's not what we're doing here, right?
No.
We're playing this probabilistic game, right?
100%.
Yeah, someone looking at Hood here. Hood is really interesting. So this is the anchored view app from the August area, so that yen carry unwind when everything tanked. I've noticed a lot of stocks finding support in there, and so is Hood. So came back in there. Very interesting to me that it's dug in. I like the company. I like the kind of long-term prospects of it. I really like this long-term chart that looks like it's putting in a giant cup and handle. The biggest thing just to note, obviously, with Hood is it's going to be very correlated to the price of crypto and Bitcoin. Right? If you have, which is kind of annoying to swing trade, because say Bitcoin gets cut in half over the weekend, you're waking up down 20% on your Robinhood, and just nothing you can do. So I like it. I like the chart. I like the company. I think they're doing everything right. However, I really worry, especially on Fridays, buying something where Bitcoin just completely wipes. This is one of the reasons I'm excited for 24-hour markets period. I know some people aren't, but I would love that, where you could put a stop in Robinhood and just know whether it's 2 in the morning or on the weekend or whatever. It's one of the reasons I like trading crypto so much, building some systematic stuff for crypto, because you can put out the trade, you can put out the stop loss. You don't need to watch it because there's no close, there's no whatever. So, it's an interesting, it's a good chart, but again, depending on what happens with crypto. So, we got another guest coming in here.
Oh yeah, we do. Miss
Leah
Leah's gonna come and join us and share some trades and thoughts here in a moment when the market opens. Oh, here she is. What's up, Leah? Good morning.
Hi.
How we doing?
Good morning. How are you?
Doing great.
I'm good.
We're just getting ready for the Friday, getting things talking. We were just talking about what was happening throughout the week and yesterday with all the earnings and stuff, and yeah, just looking at some setups going into the morning. But what are you watching?
So I am looking at oil and Exxon Oxy. I saw a huge flow in Oxy with the potential war Israel-Iran. It could spike oil, which already was happening. So I got some this week, and I was trading HIMS at the early of the week, which was a nice 8% trade.
Feel free to share your screen too
Yeah,
if you
let me
want
share
to.
it actually.
Yeah,
I'm
go ahead.
I'm not sharing. That's like really boring.
No worries, you're good.
Green. All right, right here. So just really quick trades. So HIMS we played from Friday till Monday. That was a quick one-night swing. And then I'm looking into actually next week, and I do believe we're gonna have a little bit of relief rally after we clear all this negative gamma on this OPEX day. Wonderful quarterly OPEX today. And yeah, so I have some low IV stocks I'm looking at, especially in the semiconductor space, and then in crypto also. So I'm looking to add some EBIT and coin. I think that coin is in a nice solid place with a nice risk to reward at this point. That will be my play into next week. And we also have tariffs on the April 2nd, right? It's tariff decision, but who knows what's going to happen. I think the market is not really pricing in that this could go well. I think there's so much negativity at this point. So yes, I'm looking to add, if people are scared to trade calls, they can play with shares or they can do spreads, which is quite a nice play to limit your downside in case you're wrong. And yeah, the SPX still struggling with the 57 resistance right here, as we can see. That was yesterday. I have my line there. It's like 3 times it tried and it doesn't.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
It
been a
doesn't go
struggle.
down.
We've been talking
It
about that.
struggles there, yeah. And then we have the JPM caller. It's a 56.50, I think. Let me see my notes. I always check on those huge whales, what they do, how they hedge. And 55.65 is a support for me, next one. And then again, things can go against me, against all my, probabilities. But I think 55 would be like the lowest support I could think into end of this month. So we can also see, I don't know how much you guys play with the volume shelves. I like them. I like to look at them. So we are right there now. 55.65 would be like the level I would be looking at for a bounce. Yeah, so that's pretty
So
much
on that, sorry, on that volume shelf, so you're just looking at that as like an area of
support or
support and
resistance.
resistance?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
call it as the battle of buyers and sellers, and who wins we will see. But that's definitely
Okay.
a place where the stock kind of sits. And this black line here, it's point of control. I don't draw this. It draws it for me, where
Okay.
the biggest amount of transactions that happen on that price level, right? But it's again, like if you zoom in, it's gonna change, because this is not a fixed range. It's a visual. It's basically how I adjust it on particularly this time right here.
Okay.
So yeah.
So how do you know
fixed. You can do fixed if
like
you want.
what to zoom in for? Like how do you know how
It's just a shorter
much
time
data?
period, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like a time frame like daily, 5 minutes, and none of that. It's just a time period that you can basically, that's why it's called visual range, because you see it from here, from November 22nd, where were the most transactions. And you can zoom in, it's going to change for you if you want like a shorter period. So yeah, so I'm looking into this. We're going to have really volatile day, I think. And what I am heavily in is Geo. And Funny and May, I've been posting it for a long time.
I saw this ticker pop up recently.
Geo, yeah, I've been in
Yeah.
this one for a while. I mean, this was a election trade for us that
Oh,
made
okay.
huge profits because it's private prisons. So when Trump won, there was, of course, we knew this is going to go up. And then here it's really holding well around those levels. So I'm in again in Geo, and I'm going to hold for a longer swing. What else I'm looking at? Of course, the usual suspects. PLTR is
pallets
also
here.
struggling with these levels, but it's not bad. I mean,
She's just
if it
going
holds,
sideways, right? She's
it's just going
breathing.
sideways. Yeah, it's taking a break. And Tesla, yeah, Tesla is. I think Tesla.
I saw you made a
bottom.
post on Twitter. You said, I hate to say it, but it might be bottom time.
I think so, yeah. I mean,
I would
it's
love
been
that.
55% down, right? So it's look, everything passes in the market. I don't think the company is going to zero. They're having a hard time right now, but that's it's a fun stock to trade. If not invest, then at least trade. I mean, Tesla is really fun to trade.
Absolutely.
And and Nvidia the same thing. It's just in between this like here taking whatever break.
Yeah, we were talking about semiconductors. They're just so sideways. It's not really the place to be right now.
But if you like
wanna
options,
make big profits.
if you like options, they have pretty low IV considering. So if you want to play like a month and a half call spreads, could be a safer strategy to do. On those you can just or you play the ETF SMH, but yeah, they are very sideways. AMD. And so yeah, that was my week. I played the hymns, I played up, and I played a little quick trade on PLTR. And again, like I'm heavily in all these European stocks that I was mentioning, and they're taking finally a little bit of retest. And I was posting also that friends in Germany told me that kids in the gym were talking about Rheinmetall stock. So there was a time when I sold half of my.
I was gonna say that's like a guaranteed sell partial position for sure.
This was my entry here where I have the little bubble. I wish I would know about those before, but it was still a good entry, and I sold half. And now I'm waiting. So my level is around the 20. If I'm lucky to get back, I would refill. And then UCG is doing really well. It's a bank. I'm waiting for a breakout of the 55. I've been in this one, but I don't mind adding on into winning positions if I see. And if people think this stock is too high up, I mean, look at the monthly chart. I don't mind zooming out. So we are not even close to the all-time high, right? So there is still room to go. And this one has a really good momentum. UCG, it's a bank. So banks are still doing pretty well considering. And then of course Funny and May, guys. Funny and May. This one I have my whole entire 401k in this stock. This one and Geo, and a couple of other names. But these guys are, I've been long since 334, and I don't mind adding. To be honest with you, like I think we are getting another momentum now with. Billy Pooley from Pulta Management stepping in, and he's going to save the company, get rid of the fraud and all sorts of things. So
cross your fingers, right?
Yeah, I mean it's looking pretty good. This was here for 50 moving average breakout yesterday. I just closed them sometimes, so it doesn't bother me. But 50. So we are launch pad of the 50. It looks pretty good.
You always have these tickers that I would never really see. Are you using any scanners for this? Because like I know Michael Nauss, like you use a lot of scanners for the stocks you trade, like so you don't have to actively be looking. Are you doing something similar, Lia?
We spent about 10 months of 8 hours a day building our own customized scanner on Bloomberg, which is extremely complex. So we use that, and then of course all my hedge fund friends, they give me good ideas.
Oh yeah, of course.
That helps, but
no, it's just great.
Sure.
You're always having these tickers that like I'm always looking at the same stuff, and like I'm not actively. It's just not the trader I am. I'm not actively putting effort to like find, like these tickers that nobody's really not nobody, but like the average trader investor wouldn't really know about, right? I'm trading the Google, the Microsofts, the Apples, everything. So it's just so cool to always see these tickers, and like you always have. Like look at what they're doing when the market's all fizzling out.
You need to venture out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because look, I'm trading mostly the big caps too, but this year they've just been not as great, and they've been choppy. And as I said, like I'm not a scalper. I take a quick day trade once in a while, but it's not my preference. I prefer trading for a couple of days or weeks or months, where I can make $100,000 in a trade. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of what I like. It's for me, where my personality and lifestyle works. So everyone needs to find what they're like. But with those things, if the market is sucky on the other names, I have to venture out. And that was this year. So I'm using more like the macro kind of thing and logical deduction of what could work. With Geo, of course, we're going to increase spending on prisons, which now with the deportations it's happening, right? It makes sense that this will go. So that's why I find in May again, like look, it's again up today. So crypto is stuck, but this is kind of the trading I'm doing this year. There's no right and wrong, right? So these are kind of fun things. And yeah.
No, I couldn't agree more. And you know, Jordan, I definitely think for you and the audience, branching out like that is huge because there's, you know, we know themes come and go. So there'll be times
Absolutely.
where the big caps are interesting and they're trending, and I just think it's one of those where to make your life way easier, you want to be, you know, really focused on what's going on at the time, right? And I just think it's one of those that people get kind of caught in traps where they say, you know, oh, would I like to trade, you know, my Palantir or whatever. It's like, okay, well, what if Palantir just doesn't move for the next
Yeah.
6 months, right? It's not only you've lost, you could lose money on the stock, but it's also the opportunity cost of having, we all have limited capital, having your capital invested in something that's not moving. And in the meantime, you could have been looking at something else. So no, I think it's huge, and I'm glad that that you agree, Leah, because you have to be focused on where the money is, right? At some
Yeah.
point, there was times where go back and look at like Citibank chart way back
Oh,
and
I
after
traded
it,
it last year. It was
yeah,
amazing. But you're right, Michael. How long it wasn't moving? 10 years?
years, decade maybe of not moving,
Yeah,
right?
you're right. And imagine people sitting in those. So yeah, you're right. We just have to be flexible. That's the number one priority as a trader. You cannot stuck into a certain thing and then people. I'm up 45% year to date. The Nasdaq was down 10% last week when I
Yeah.
looked on Friday.
Well, and that's the
Yeah.
thing. People would pray for some of these stocks that you're showing. They would pray
Yeah,
to be in these positions. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like with the market the way it's looking, just fine. It just goes to show that there are so many tickers out in the market. Like you find what's working for you. You know, you build your own little scanner if you're out in the audience. You know what I mean? And you find some stocks that work for you when the market's going down like this. I
yeah.
love to see it. It's awesome.
You have to venture out. This was my trade last November here, and here I sold. I made 100% on this. Like you really have to venture out because otherwise you're gonna just stuck there and wait. And look, I was thinking about what can be the catalyst for big caps right now.
Yeah,
I can't find
exactly.
it this
It's
year,
not there.
honestly.
Where is
No.
it, right?
Yeah, Apple looks again like it's a bear flag breaking down. They're just going up because they keep doing share
I
buybacks.
am not a
To
fan
be
of Apple
honest with
lately.
you.
I don't know
No.
about you guys. I just am not like
Mm-mm.
I do love Apple in the fact of like I mean everywhere I look there's Apple, right? Especially in my age
Yeah.
group, right? Like everybody has an iPhone,
Yeah.
AirPods, the
Yeah.
whole thing. But I just hate like lately as a company they really have no significant growth or innovation.
Mm-mm.
Just a simple fact of like the way that they keep everything so safeguarded as well, and
Yeah.
like green text messages with Android. Nobody else like there's so many great earbuds out there, but none of them are as compatible with Apple because Apple won't let them be. And it's
Yeah.
just like think about how many more great products that like we could have and use with Apple and think I don't know, just the whole company lately has kind of just pissed me off to be
Yeah.
honest with
I
the
don't
way they're
own
doing
Apple.
things, but I
I
don't
don't own.
anymore either. I
Mm-mm.
mean, I guess I own it through the S&P, but
I
like
never
other than
did.
that, yeah.
I never had Apple, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I never
Yeah.
owned it, but yeah, I agree with you. Their innovation is completely in the toilet, and they have no like they need to change all the branding and everything.
Yeah.
It's just like really boring.
The
Um,
problem is there's no
no,
other like real competitor to like how are you going to
no,
take Apple's like market share, like how are you going to do that? It's
yeah,
really
but you're right. They're
impossible
like
right now.
mafia. They
Yep.
they just not allow you to use anything else once you get stuck with them.
It's like
But
yeah.
yeah, Meta. I mean, I got some Meta 2 days ago, and I was very happy yesterday. But now it's again in limbo, a little bit like tiny first buy after I exited here. I like to have my trades on my chart so I can then teach people with that. But
Yeah.
yeah, I got a little bit of Meta, and my next levels of buying would be like 550 or lower, somewhere around. I mean, sometimes you just have to have cash and be ready to buy for long term when it looks really ugly and you're not sure. But I'm a little bit worried with those guys because of the advertising revenue. And if we have recession fear, of course, the advertising companies are really screwed up in those times.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see what
Something I
happens.
just keep noticing too is I just keep pulling up SPY on a monthly chart, and this dip we're having is amazing. But at the same time, every real, like, I guess, actual dip we've had where it's been like, okay, we're actually like downtrending for a little bit in midst of the bigger uptrend. Every time we've done that, we've had, you know, a few consecutive down months. And this is the first like real down month we've had since the highs, which is where it has
Yeah.
me definitely pausing on buying the dip just for like long-term investments.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's not like bad to, you know, maybe start an investment on a huge dip like this. I don't hate it, but at the same time, just noticing, looking back, okay, well, every time we've actually taken a dip, we've had consecutive months to the downside, and this is the start of it. I'm kind of trying to be a little more patient and just wait for maybe, you know, some more down months to see if we get it. But at the same time, that might mean I miss out on a beautiful dip here. But I'm okay with that because we already are invested at lower prices from, you know, a year and a half ago. So I'm
Yeah.
not too worried about that. But it's just a matter for me, you know, I'm trying to stay patient as possible.
Gold
That's
is
what.
just tanking right now.
Is it? Oh, you
Well,
We talked
lucky.
about
God
that. I
dang
know,
it.
I
You
got it.
nailed it. I got in too early, man.
Oh,
I'm
the
sorry,
kids
which
eat
one?
this month.
Gold?
Gold,
Gold,
yeah.
yeah.
GLD.
Mr.
Just
Michael
on
Nauss is short gold, and I was short
Good.
like last week and a half ago, and
I played
I was too early.
this. I played this. I played IM Breakout here, and I'm
Oh
out
yeah,
now. But
that
that
thing's
was a
been looking
nice
good,
one. Yeah, this was
doing
a
really
good
well.
one. I mean, you know, for me, these things are just not moving that fast. And also with the commodities, if you don't trade the futures on them, I wake up, there is a massive gap, and then it doesn't do much in a day.
Yeah,
Hmm.
Yeah, so gold, but it's, I think everyone is in gold, silver, and all these miners had a huge flow last week. So yeah, silver is
No,
still
I
moving.
100% agree there. I trade the futures when it comes
Yeah,
to most of these commodities because,
yeah,
yeah, intraday when it comes to stock, they don't move at all. Like
no, no.
this gold trade was something I set up at like 7 o'clock last night, and then just
Yeah,
been in it ever since. So I like it for that for more longer term, position trades. But yeah, especially some of these ETFs, and then you get the gaps in the ETFs, and then they don't move. Then it gaps the next day, and it doesn't move. It gets really
and you
hard to
don't
trade.
you don't know what way it's gonna go.
Yeah.
That's the problem because, yeah, if you do the futures, it's great. I need to get into that too, to trade the futures. So much better with those guys. Yeah. And then also one thing I was going to tell you when I'm already talking about the funny in May, there is the preferred stock, FNMAS, which it's quite safer to trade. Also, it doesn't move as fast as funny in May, but when it comes to holdings, in case they would ever go private, these stocks, these shareholders get paid first. So that's another one if someone is holding it for a longer term. So I have both. I have funny in May and I have this preferred one. But again, like it's all on OTC. People can even, I think you can even buy those with Robinhood.
yeah,
And
you
I
got to be on the
posted this
OTC
actually on
markets.
Twitter. I posted it on January 2nd, and I'm going heavy into this funny in May right here. And people's like, we can't buy it. Yeah, right here was my buy. But
Gosh, what a beautiful buy.
and CrowdStrike, I'm looking at as well. If we get about a
Yeah, what's your
50,
take on that? Because CrowdStrike's just been, I feel like, very quiet for a while now.
it's moving a lot, no? This thing.
I don't know. I guess when I bump up the time
These are
frame, I
all
feel
my
like
trades here. I like to trade this kind of breakouts here, here, here. You see, all my trend lines just boom, simple. I like one line, that's it. I missed the boat here. I didn't buy, again, no falling nice. But here's my setup. If we get about a 50 moving average, about this chop, then I wouldn't mind going long. That would be another setup, right? You miss one setup, you create another one. That
Yeah.
makes a risk-reward sense. So I have my alert set. I do it this way, like $2 below the breakout I'm having on my alert. I get a text and email from TradingView. And then I will probably go into CrowdStrike. I like it's volatile stock. It moves pretty nicely.
it definitely picked up a lot more recently too.
Yeah, it was here having the break, but I mean
Yeah.
that's normal, right? Stocks do that as long as they don't
I
do
like
opportunity here.
the ETF on this one too, Hack, or I think the other one's Bug.
Oh, really?
Yeah, good ways
Oh.
to get. They're mostly like, oh, there's a lot of CrowdStrike in there, but then you also get just some of the other, what, Pan
Like
W
Pan,
and
yeah, Pan was nice to hold. Yeah.
a handful of these cybersecurity names. I the more I don't know, the older I
Bug
get, the
like
more I
this?
love these thematic
BUG?
ETFs. Yeah.
Oh yeah, BUG, like a bug. That's cute. You have a bug in your computer.
Yeah.
Ah, you see our crypto thingies. Are they moving? Yeah, I'm gonna get into some of those for April, guys. Like EBIT, MSTR. I love trading MSTR. It's such a yo-yo. Now it's also taking a break, but I think this one made me a lot of money. Let's
It's
see.
a good trading vehicle
It's
for
a
sure.
cute trading vehicle. Yeah, it's nice. MSTR. Yeah, from the 311, we have the 50 in the way, but let's say 314 up to the point of control. 342 would be kind of my setup, maybe. Maybe even
I'm
earlier.
so scared of this stock just because it seems like a ticking time bomb, and those can sometimes be the best, short-term trades.
Why do you
But
think taking time bomb? Because of all the notes they're issuing for
y-
Bitcoin?
yeah, and I got to look into it more. But I just saw a couple videos of people just explaining the I'm gonna issue debt and then buy Bitcoin and issue debt and buy Bitcoin, and it just seems like one kind of catastrophe move in Bitcoin, and this whole thing comes unwinding. The the people will no longer want his shares and they'll be devalued, and he convert the debt at lower prices and all of that. I just need to get my hands on exactly what's going on more because it seems like a Ponzi scheme. That's
It
just
could be, but it could be when Bitcoin gets, I think, the level for MSTR to get margin call is like 15,000 on Bitcoin. We would have to get down there.
Oh, is it?
15,000.
And then,
Oh,
yeah,
okay. Well, that would make me feel
15,000.
a little better because yeah.
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
good.
and
They're good.
yeah, they're good. I have the whole research on this. And then also um, the convertible notes, I think, aren't they into like 2030 or something like that? We have time. I wouldn't
Oh,
worry
okay.
about it right now. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
No, that'd make me feel a
But,
little better because yeah, it's
but yeah, I mean, look, I wouldn't hold it long term, but it's fun to trade it.
Yeah.
oh, it's an amazing leveraged Bitcoin vehicle, right? It's
Yeah.
going to move pretty close with Bitcoin, but yeah, the juice you get on it is crazy. You used to be able to get those in the miners, but they've just been dead in the water for the last little while, and I think it's
They're
just
so
because
bad.
everybody
I'm
jumped
really
ship.
sad. Yeah. They've been shorted really heavily. That's the problem too. But yeah, I have Mara. I hold it like stupid for so long. And I have Mara, I have Coin, I have Ibit, I have Bito, I have Bitex, I have Bitcoin. I dumped all my Ethereum. Sorry. Do you guys know those levered Bitex? So this pays you so much dividend. It's ridiculous. This Bitex.
Was that
It's
two
insane.
times? Oh yeah, it's 2 times
Yeah.
leverage. Very nice.
So also it trades crazy, but it also dividend and then
Oh, those
Bito.
are fun. If you're as long as you're not just like sitting and holding when it's going against you, obviously,
Yeah.
right? But
Yeah.
those are fun to trade for sure. I love the
Hmm.
leverage tickers.
Yeah, I have both. Yeah, I'm in crypto pretty nicely. We'll see what happens because honestly, I've been in crypto since 2017, and this always passes somehow until it doesn't. But
And
with current situation, I was just posting. I think they're gonna start buying Bitcoin, right? What did they approve? 80 million or 1 million of Bitcoin? Yeah, 1 million Bitcoin. They are discussing to add into the reserve since yesterday. So I
Wow.
think, yeah, I think it's gonna stay here. No matter what horror stories we're telling ourselves and how weird it sounds, I bet when they started using gold as reserve, people were also back then thinking, "What the heck is this?" You know. So we just
definitely.
have to adapt to these new things, I guess. It's
Yeah.
here to stay, and it's just something I own. Um,
I'm with you. I'm buying it every day.
yeah,
Personally, I just DCA
yeah,
a little bit every day when we get to levels where I'm,
yeah.
actually interested, then I'll throw a bigger order in, but other than that, just don't even think about it and just
Let it
let it
ride.
buy every day,
Yeah,
right?
honestly, it would be the best thing to just do for all these years. You
Yeah.
mean levels not seen since 2 days ago?
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, here is it. Senator Cynthia Lummis reintroduced legislation that would direct the U.S. Treasury to buy 1 million Bitcoin. That's about $80 billion over the next 5 years. So yeah, it's a very pro crypto government right now, which is great.
Definitely.
And I wouldn't sell my crypto at all. Oh, Tesla is going. You see? Wow.
Let's go, Tessie. She's trying.
Nice.
Leah
Yeah.
called the bottom.
Yeah, I also said that market most likely will bottom next
Let's
week or
go.
this week. But anyways, we are just looking on different data. I'm not looking just on technicals. I'm really looking at like super deep gamma levels and GX and the flow and what institutions are doing and volatility, especially volatility. If you don't follow volatility, then the volatility is getting crushed since FOMC, and hopefully it's going to get even lower next week. So we'll see.
So I have just covered the majority of that gold short.
Nice.
Just amazing. Like I never expected a 1% down move in gold. So it's one of those, these commodities don't move too much. So I took most off. I was trading the micros. I think I had 15 micros and I've got like 3 left now. And it's just,
awesome.
I'll hold it. I'll likely be out by the end of the day. But yeah,
Good.
just one of
Congrats.
those
Great trade.
great
Yeah.
risk reward. So just showing that you don't look a gift horse in the mouth, especially when it's something like a commodity like gold. You get a 1% move in gold, you're super happy with yourself.
take
and
it.
Yeah, you move on.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Especially with
100%.
this, they don't move so much as we said. Nice. Wonderful. Well,
Well, good stuff,
Well,
guys. I think we're good to
yeah.
good to wrap up the morning, but I appreciate both of you coming on as always. And everybody trade safe today. And
Yeah.
enjoy the Friday, enjoy the weekend. We got some time off, and then we'll be back on it for Monday morning. So, everybody,
Cool.
again, enjoy, trade safe, and we'll see you guys next week.
Thank you. Have a good
See ya.
weekend. Bye. Bye.
All right.